Good Wednesday evening, and thank you so much for joining us for Friends at 5. It is going to be a very special show today. I'm Darcy Strickland.
And we have so much to talk about as two moms coming to you today, talking about our kids and what is going on at our local schools. It was a very chaotic morning for parents, not only in Blythewood, but all across the state, when parents and students heard that there were gunshots fired on campus. But that is not the truth.
It's not true. None of this was true. And we're going to have tough conversations about what happened, again, not just in Richland County, but across the state. Initially, the first call happened just after 10:30 this morning. The Richland County Sheriff's Office says they got a report that someone had been shot inside Blythewood High School.
Obviously, they acted immediately, and Sheriff Leon Lott says the school, staff, police officers, they handled the situation exactly how they should have, springing into action. Here's more of what he had to say.
It was an exercise, it was a practice, and we saw how we would respond if we ever did have an active shooter in one of our schools. That's one thing that all our school districts, particularly School District 2, has prided herself on, is working with us, going through these drills, also getting training, active shooter training for their staff. Today it paid off, and where no one was hurt, because we saw how everybody responded. And so I applaud the students at Blythewood High School. I applaud the staff, the teachers. Everybody there just did exactly what they have been trained to do.
So scary for everybody involved, and when a situation like this happens, even if it does turn out to be a hoax, to be fake, it's a given that parents are still shaking literally in their shoes, still have questions, and still want answers.
News 19's Rachel Ripp tells us how parents were reacting to all this information as it came in quickly today. Rachel.
Here at Blythewood High School, this is the line of cars filled with parents waiting to be reunited with their students after a TikTok hoax shut down the school. Fear, confusion, phone calls, and hours of waiting. This is what nearly every parent, grandparent, and sibling of a Blythewood High School student experienced Wednesday.
Things are different now, times are changing. I hope that with this, what has happened at this school, we get some type of, number one, better communication with the parents, number two, some better security for the kids.
Alexis Griffin showed up to the IGA on Blythewood Road, where a reunification site was initially set up. She tells me she called her daughter after hearing students were being moved to the high school stadium.
I pray for her mental, I pray for her safety now. I've always done so, but I will do extra hard because, you know, we're in trying times right now. So I just want to console my child and just, talk to her as best I can.
David Wishart, also in the IGA parking lot and parent of a junior at Blythewood High School, says his mind immediately went to the worst case scenario.
Fear. My oldest daughter called and told me basically what was going on, and all I had thoughts of was what was going on in Texas and the incompetence of the police people out there, and I was hoping ours wouldn't be the same.
Immediately your heart drops because, you feel helpless. Your kid is here, and, you send your kid to school, and, there's some people out here that's not living right. That's how I look at it.
But after law enforcement explained it was all a hoax, parents were thankful, breathing sighs of relief.
A lot of range of emotions really quickly, but I'm glad everything's okay.
Now, as for the school day tomorrow, some parents I spoke with say they might not be ready to bring their kids back to this school facility tomorrow. Reporting in Blythewood, Rachel Ripp, News 19, WLTX.
All right, well, that's the latest from Blythewood, but here's the thing. This happened all over the state today. Sheriff Leon Lott said Blythewood was just one of several schools to get a call like this, and apparently, like Rachel said, it came from this TikTok challenge encouraging students to make this type of false police call. And a report of an active shooter at Newberry Middle School was made after 11 o'clock this morning. Again, police responded, and again, police determined this was a hoax. Meanwhile, at Sumter High High School. A call came in to 911 shortly after 10 o'clock this morning. Once again, Sumter police responded and determined it was a hoax. In the Lowcountry, threats were reported at high schools in Charleston and in Beaufort. Both of those calls were hoaxes. And then in Myrtle Beach, at Myrtle Beach Middle School, also a call came in and was a hoax. In Lancaster County, a middle and an elementary school were targeted by this same hoax. Schools in Oconee and Greenville County were also, and we're going to teach you a new term here that you probably, unfortunately, will be hearing again. This is called swatted. School officials say more than 15 districts were targeted or swatted statewide.
And as we just said moments ago, one of those schools that received a similar false threat was Newberry Middle School. I checked in with the Newberry County Sheriff's Office just moments ago to see how they handled the situation. And I talked to Sheriff Lee Foster, who says because the report came in after Blythewood High School, they were able to quickly verify that there was no real threat at the school, but they still had to take action.
We were fortunate. We had a little bit of heads up because of what happened in Richland County. And at about the same time that that this took place, the FBI and SLED sent out a bulletin. And as we were getting the bulletins out to our people, we got the call at Newberry Middle School. So our school resource officer and the site principal and staff, they responded just as if it were an active shooter. And we also had our law enforcement officers that were on duty respond just as that. But we were able to back it down a little bit quicker because we did have a little bit of advance notice because of what happened at Blythewood. And we were able to get it under control.
The FBI also sent out a statement in response to that increased number of similar reports across the country. The agency says that they are aware of the numerous swatting incidents where a report of an active shooter at a school is made. Similar incidents have occurred recently across the country. The statement goes on to read that the FBI takes swatting very seriously because it puts innocent people at risk.
Absolutely. So again, let's talk about this term swatting. This might be the very first time you have ever heard this. So here is the definition. It means to make a false police report about an ongoing serious crime in order to get a response from law enforcement, such as a SWAT unit. So that's where that term comes into play. This act isn't something new. The FBI says they've been using this term since 2008, but apparently in this TikTok challenge is when swatting came up today.
So the tough conversation continues because there are parents and students who are concerned about how they go back to school tomorrow. And so Dr. Baron Davis, who we all know is a very busy man, is the superintendent of Richland School District 2, but he thought it was important enough to carve a few minutes out of his day today to talk with us live about what happened.
And we certainly appreciate that, Dr. Davis. Thank you for being with us today. You know, we saw you at a press conference earlier today, of course, and you know, what is your reaction to having this happen across at one of your schools and across the state?
Yeah, I shared earlier at the press conference, I had a number of emotions that I experienced while this incident was taking place. I was definitely thankful and I thank God that no one was injured seriously or physically injured, but there are emotional injuries. Although this was a hoax, the emotions are real as a result of it. And so, but I'm thankful that all of my students who attended school and all my staff and my faculty and individuals in that community who attended our schools today can attend in the future. I was grateful to the response from our sheriff's department and the way our students responded. And all of the law enforcement, our students, our parents, our teachers, all did a phenomenal job in responding appropriately. And then I was a little saddened that this is taking place in our schools and across the state and across the country, that we don't take the education and providing premier educational experiences for our students seriously enough to protect the sanctity of the the institution of education anymore. And that schools are now targets for people who want to disrupt that process.
Dr. Davis, let me talk to you not as a journalist, but as a parent in your district. You know, my girls are Richland 2 students. Nothing prepared me to see the video of those students running out of Blythewood High School with their hands behind their heads as a way to show law enforcement that they were not the threat. What do you say to parents tonight who are concerned and don't know how to have that tough conversation with their kids about going back to school tomorrow?
You know, nothing prepared me as well, Darcy. I was there and I saw it firsthand. Students coming out of the building with their hands high or on their head, faculty and staff coming out. Some who were stopping to assist students who could not run out on their own. Some students had to be pushed in wheelchairs. Some students were on crutches and had to be assisted. I saw the anger, the frustration, the anxiety in their faces, the tears. I saw it firsthand. And I would say to those families, maybe just spend some time just hugging and loving on your children tonight, and assuring them and being that we have the processes and we have the resources in place, but encouraging them to not give up on the institution of education, that it is still a very safe place to be. But maybe just listen to them. Maybe that's a conversation for another day. Maybe the conversation is just listening to how they feel, really digging deep and making sure that they are going to be okay. And if they're not, to let someone who can assist them professionally assist them.
What do you say to your educators? Are your educators okay?
I think my educators are struggling with this as well. I saw teachers and I've spoke to a few as they were exiting the building and after we did an all clear. And I think it can have an emotional toll on them as well, because remember, when they were experiencing this, they thought it was real. They thought it was live. So those feelings are live. I mean, they are real. They're not, the feelings aren't hoax. So they definitely had a emotional response to that, and we're going to work with them as well. I think one of the things that we're going to do, we'll be getting some information out here in the next hours or so to our faculty and staff, and to our students and our parents about how we're going to move forward, how we're going to help our adults process first, because we really need to like assess them and help them process so they can help our students process. So we can't have both our adults and our students, our scholars, both trying to process simultaneously. So we're going to try to help them, put them in a position to be able to help our students when our students return to school.
Dr. Davis, from what we know, this came from social media. This was some type of TikTok challenge. And I mean, we're both moms. We know you can't put a lock and key on your kids, but like, what advice do you give parents and students who are watching about social media and the dangers of social media and how that should be taken seriously and monitored?
I would say to our parents to definitely be aware of the social media accounts that your sons and daughters are utilizing. You should follow them on their accounts and often check to see if they have burner accounts or fake accounts as well. And become knowledgeable about how to use and navigate social media yourself. So if they're using things like TikTok, or if they're using Snapchat, or they're using Instagram, you want to be able to learn how to navigate those things as well. Spot check and monitor their social media accounts. Ask to see their phones, particularly if, I would say to parents, if you pay the bill, you have access to and a right to the phone.
That's right.
And a right to inspect the phone anytime you should choose to do so. And that goes, and for our students, I think that our students, you need to understand that if you misuse something like this, the severity of your actions can be life-altering for you as well as life-altering for others. And so the individuals who were part of this hoax that caused all of this chaos, if they're found, and when they're found, I think this is going to be a life-altering issue for them as well as their families. And so this is not the time to joke around and play around when it comes to the people's safety and their security, and threatening that safety and security they expect when they come to schools and any other public place.
And Dr. Davis, our final question, and probably the simplest question: are Richland 2 schools safe?
Richland 2 schools are very safe. We have an outstanding group of administrators. We have an outstanding group of committed teachers. I saw how our teachers reacted firsthand today, that they put themselves and their students' safety first and foremost. And that was just beautiful to see them do that. So I know they're committed to ensuring that our students attend safe and secure schools. We have an outstanding security force, our own in-house security force. And we have a school resource officer at every school in our school district. And in our high schools, we have 2 school resource officers at every high school. And then we already are in the process of adding additional support for resource officers in our schools as well. And so, that's something that we have to continue to reevaluate and strengthen on an ongoing basis. But I feel comfortable sending my daughter to school each and every day, as well as my wife, who is an employee in the school district and works at Blythewood High School.
All right, we so appreciate you speaking openly about this with us, Dr. Davis. I know it helps everybody feel safer. Thank you so much for your time. And we're going to continue this conversation.
We are. We want to make sure you guys at home are part of this conversation. If you have questions or you'd like to have answered, if you feel like you want to say something that is just heavy on your heart and you don't have anyone else to share it with, you can text us at 803-776-9508. We have a licensed counselor in the studio today. She's going to be answering your questions. And we also have a panel of high school students to talk to us more about how they're feeling today. They're the kids. Of course, they're on their cell phones.
Of course they are. They don't know they're on TV right now
and
either.
Plus, they don't know that they're on TV, but that's what the kids do. They're on their cell phones.
This is a glimpse into all of our homes.
Exactly. Anybody with a teenager knows, yeah, this is exactly what they look like right now. But we're going to talk with these kids. We're going to have the tough conversation with them a little bit later in the newscast.
All right, stay with us. We're just getting started. It's Tough Conversations on Friends at 5. Keep it here. All right, we were so thankful to hear from the superintendent, Dr. Baron Davis, about what was happening at the school. And now we want to move on to the next phase, which is healing. Certainly we saw shocking images of kids running out of the school, of police running into the school. So we know now is the time to talk to a counselor or somebody that can help us process those emotions.
Yeah, Dr. Davis made it very clear that no one was physically injured.
Right.
But you don't know how the feelings are hurt until you start asking those questions. So Jennifer Wolf is a friend of Friend at 5. She is a certified trauma specialist. She works specifically with kids and adults who have PTSD. And Jennifer, what I was saying to our news director earlier today when I looked at this situation, and I hope I'm not using this term incorrectly, but I feel like our kids are constantly living in a state of fight or flight.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And unfortunately, there can be, just based on that traumatic exposure, whether it's perceived or it's an actual threat, that sometimes when there's just a perception or there's the unpredictability factor, that can be more traumatizing than actually experiencing the event. So where we're fight and flight, we also have to teach kids how to engage in activities, and for us as adults to balance out, because prolonged stages of fight and flight, the body is going to take a toll on the body. So there's different activities or different things that you can teach them to do. Breathe for one, yoga, meditation, prayer, just learning how to bring down the nervous system when it's been so jacked up, unfortunately. And this is very emotional for kids, for parents. It's unfortunate that we're having to talk about this, but we are.
So let's say, it's 5:30. Everybody's going to be sitting down to the dinner table within the next hour with their family. How do we start this conversation? How do we open? Because, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14, 15, they're not always the most chatty about their feelings. How do we get them to open up talking with us tonight about how this is making them feel?
Right. Wonderful question. Well, the first thing I would say is know your child. You know the child that's going to come in the door and, hey, let me tell you, blah, 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 and then the other ones that's going to be more introverted. So you want to meet them where they are and just be very factual with the conversation. I think a great way to start it is to say, hey, this has been a tough day for all of us. And I'm feeling a lot of things. A parent, by saying, hey, it scared me and I'm angry about it or I'm sad about it, to express that without just being consumed. So you got to be that foundation for that child to open the conversation. So be factual. Say, I just wonder, what is anybody else feeling this way, or what's going on for you guys with this? Or how was this? Boy, this was rough. And how are you doing? Talk to me. What's going on?
So how do we, Jennifer, thread the needle so that we as parents don't put our feelings,
Our stress
on our
them.
kids? You know, how do we make sure that happens? I'm going to put you on hold and let you think about that question real quick. We're going to take a quick commercial break, encouraging our viewers, if you have questions, send them in, but we're back after this short break.
All right, we want to quickly get back to that question. Jennifer Wolf is here, certified trauma specialist and counselor. How do we not put our own emotions, our own stress and worry onto our children?
Right. Well, definitely. When you're thinking about it, and we were talking about this before the break, that you got to do what's in the best interest of your child or your teenager. And so you've got to find your own outlets. You're going to have your moments, but when you approach your child, you've got to be that foundation, that calming, grounding. Okay, we do this, we do this, we do this, because they're looking to you to do that for them as a parent. Now, that's impossible unless you have your own self-care and your own places that you go as an adult that you can just unleash and unpack. That's extremely important.
It's just like with what we hear on the flight. Put your oxygen
Mask
on
on first, then put
before
it
you
on
try
your
to save
child.
someone else.
Right.
All right, Jennifer, thank you
Right.
so much. Stay with
welcome.
us. There's more Friends at 5, a tough conversation coming up after this break.
Thank you so much for sticking with us for what is a very special Friends at 5 today, as we are talking about threats that were called into high schools all over the state. I'm Andrea Mock, and we are so happy to have Darcy Strickland in with our students to hear how this is affecting them and what happened on campus today. Darce.
You're right about that, Andrea. We've got 6 students, all high school students from different high schools around the Midlands. We're going to let them introduce themselves in just a couple of minutes, but we're excited to hear from them on the student perspective of what today meant to them.
Well, News 19 has been collecting stories from students that were inside Blythewood High School today. Some say they had to climb through windows and even barricaded doors out of fear that there was, in fact, an active shooter on their campus. One student spoke to News 19 about all the confusion and then the frustration that his classmates were feeling today.
Like, everybody get out of the classroom, and then we get outside and all the police is, you know, you just see the police cars coming all the way through, and then we get outside, the police say run to the stadium. Put everybody's health in danger. You know, all these students, you got 2,000 students in the school, you can't be doing this just for some fun TikTok challenges.
Very wise words there from a young man, and students and families tell us that they are so thankful that there were no injuries and that they were able to reconnect with their kids tonight, but no doubt everybody feeling shaky. News 19's Nate Stanley is going to have more from those students. We want to hear from them and what they experienced today. That is coming up tonight at 6 o'clock, so stay tuned for that. But like Darcy said earlier, we are so thankful to get to hear from the students themselves. It's a treat for us, and we want to send things over to Darcy and get it in their own words about what a day like today has been like to experience.
Yeah, Andrea, we as parents think we know how our students feel, and as Jennifer Wolf said, sometimes we talk to them about it and we don't really get an answer from them, a clear, concise answer from them, but we know this panel of 6 students are going to talk to us in real terms about what it's like to be a high school student today. So we're going to let each one of you introduce yourself. You're going to say your first name and what high school you're with. We're going to start with you on the back row, Stowe.
Hi, my name is Seafloor High School.
Okay, you can pass the mic down.
My name is Ranty, and I go to Hammond School.
My name is Paul. I go to AC Flora High School.
My name is Kathy, and I go to Spring Valley High School.
My name's Samantha, and I go to Blythewood High School.
And we've got another mic, so they'll definitely hear you. Go ahead.
My name is Kaylee, and I go to Richland Northeast High School.
So you 3 ladies on the front row are Richland District 2 students. So Samantha, you are a Blythewood High School student. When you saw what happened today, what did you think?
I was actually not physically there at first. I was actually on a field trip for my teacher cadet class, but the second it happened, I got a lot of phone calls from my friends saying that there is a gun in the school, and at first I was horrified. I was thinking, oh my gosh, people I know, people I love are going to die today. That was my first thought, and it horrified me.
That's her perspective from a Richland 2 student. Guys in the back, what were you guys thinking? Because, I mean, I know social media moves pretty quickly, so you probably heard about this even with it not being in your district.
Yeah, I heard about it on like Snapchat, and a couple of my friends in Richland too texted me about it, but I didn't really know what was going on until a couple hours ago.
For me, you can kind of like hear it, when you're going around the halls to your classes, you can hear people talking, have you heard what happened at Blythewood? And then you're curious, like, okay, what happened? And then maybe you do some research, maybe you talk to your friends about it, and that's how I figured out. I did some research on it after hearing about something happened at Blythewood. I did research, and that's when I figured out what happened, and it was very tragic, very bad.
I first heard and I didn't really know what to think, but I assumed that they were real, so I was just like hoping for the safety of all the students and hoping for the safety of everyone there, and that it wasn't real.
So we saw the Snapchat videos, we saw the Instagram videos, and a lot of the videos the kids were saying we thought this was a drill. Do you feel like you guys are maybe becoming desensitized to this type of thing?
Well, I think like with everything that's going on today, that in some ways it's like, I hate to say that it's almost normal, because you hear about all these like shootings going around in our nation, and I think our schools and our school district did a really good job of preparing us. We had these like drills, like lockdown drills, and I think that we really have to thank our teachers and our school administrators for really demonstrating strong leadership and teaching us like the correct ways to react in situations like this.
Do you think that this ever will stop happening?
Unfortunately, I don't think that it's going to stop completely. I think it's something that we will have to get used to, but also figure out ways to improve the situation. And I think right now that's up to like our school superintendent, our district administrators. So, yeah.
Does this feel like y'all's norm?
Yes.
It does?
Yes.
Let me step over here so I can make sure I get you to answer this question for me. Unfortunately, this is your norm.
Yes, it is our norm, sadly, because a lot of times children are being more used to having to deal with shootings and drills rather than actually learning in school.
So how do you deal with that?
Personally, what I like to do is I like to push that sort of image out of my head, like a lot of students might not do, because if I don't personally, I will have a lot of anxiety about, will I see this person the next day? Will I be able to see my family?
I know we as parents look at it differently. We panic every time something like this happens. If you had a message that you could give to parents who are watching tonight, what would, and I'm going to get you to sit next back down this way, what would your message be to the parents? Because we're automatically going to go into protect our child mode. What do you say?
I mean, I think this kind of thing starts with the parents and just adults in general, because the threat of school shootings is such like a big issue nowadays because of how catastrophic the actual school shootings are. And I think it's up to a lot of the adults, many of whom are parents in power, to like pass laws and look into legislation that would prevent this from being such a big issue. So when that it is a hoax like today, it doesn't become like as much of like a threat, or it doesn't instill as much anxiety in people.
What do you think as parents that we can do to better equip you all for a day like this at school?
I feel like the best thing we can do is preparation. As this is becoming more frequent and more sadly normal, I feel like the best thing we can do is prepare their kids, so when they get into situations like this, they know how to handle themselves, they know what to do, so they won't immediately go into a sense of panic. They'll be like, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, and hopefully that will help decrease that sense of panic, that sense of fear. Obviously you can't take it all away, but hopefully with these preparations you can at least decrease it a bit.
Stowe, there's going to be a parent who's looking at their child right now and they're going to say, okay, you're going to delete Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook. Well, not Facebook. Y'all don't have Facebook, but all of the other apps. Is that the right answer?
I don't think that is the right answer exactly. I think as parents, they should be teaching us to properly use social media and to encourage good behavior and not just give into these hoaxes and these threats. And I think that's just, yeah.
More the answer.
Yes.
So not give me your phone and never pick it up again.
Yes.
But yeah, let me talk to you about how to do this responsibly. Samantha, excuse me for stepping in front of you. What is school going to be like tomorrow at Blythewood?
I think school is going to be very different. Usually Blythewood has a very good sense of community, and I think because of today we kind of lost that a little bit. It's going to be, the whole atmosphere of the school is going to be a lot different, and not just tomorrow, but I think for months and maybe the rest of the school year.
We heard from some students that you guys had just gone through a drill.
We did. We had just gone through a fire drill, and so we actually have fire drills a lot because of some construction like messing with the things. But when it actually, we're so used to like fire drills happening, then we hear lockdown drills and we're just like, oh my gosh. It's a lot different.
It's a lot different and it's a lot to handle, and we're super excited, again, as I mentioned at the top of the newscast, to have these 6 young people. They are all student leaders in their respective schools. They're the best of the best, the cream of the crop, and so they're going to continue to talk to us about having this tough conversation with not just your high schooler, but your middle school student, and for some of you, maybe even your elementary school student. So we're going to continue the conversation. If you have questions, we encourage you to text them in 803-776-9508. Even if you have questions for the kids, you guys will answer them for us? Absolutely. All right, we're going to send things back into the studio with Andrea.
Great. Thank you so much, Dar. Certainly, those are some brave kids and very well spoken. Moms and dads, y'all did a good job. And I just have to say, like, as a mom, it absolutely broke my heart to hear Samantha, the student from Blythewood High School, say that what she thought was people I know are going to die today. Makes my voice shake. So I want to bring in certified trauma specialist Jennifer Wolf to talk about those real emotions that our students felt today. How on earth do you start to heal from feeling that?
I don't think it's something you're going to get over. I believe you have to acknowledge the tremendous sadness in this and the fear without allowing fear-based thinking to become all-consuming, because that's not healthy. So it's unfortunate and it's alarming that a young person would say people that I know and love are going to die today. So we're going to feel that, but yet the challenge is to allow them to express without becoming overwhelmed by what they're expressing. So meeting them where they are, using, say, wow, you know, just being present even when your heart is breaking. And for the kids that feel that, I would say, okay, let's keep it in context, as hard as that is. I heard some in the segment that, you know, the schools are not safe and we have to worry about shootings. It's become the norm. I also think we have to still put it into context and realize there are wonderful days. Those are wonderful kids that have accomplished so much that we can't bend to allowing that type of darkness, fear, whatever you want to call it, to consume and take over all of the blessings and the reasons to be grateful.
I love that
and
thought
I'll always
of
say that.
Don't give in to the fear thinking. I like that. I'm going to hold on to that as we take a
Yes.
quick break, and we are going to answer some of your questions. Coming back, 803-776-9508. We can be answer your questions from Jennifer Wolf, our certified trauma specialist, when we come back. Keep it here. All right, we have devoted our entire hour today on Friends at 5 talking about these hoaxes that apparently was a TikTok challenge, and many school threats were called in today across the state. So here's a question we have, Darcy. What do these students think should a punishment be for a student that makes a hoax phone call like the ones that happened today? If they can track these students down, what should happen in the student's eyes, Darcy?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question. We're going to start with Kaylee. I told them it was going to be a pop quiz because I hadn't had a chance to see the commercial ahead of time. But one of our viewer wants to know, what do you guys think the punishment should be for a student if they find the person responsible for these hoaxes today?
Personally, I feel that this person should be suspended, but also thoroughly looked through, because they may also have issues going on mentally or things that they may not talk about. So I want them to talk about, like, have some person to talk to about that.
Wow, I love that answer. What do you think, Stowe? And then Ranty?
I think that the person who did this should be expelled, because not only were they conscious of doing this and knowing that it was wrong, that there should be nothing short of the proper punishment.
Ranty?
When I was reading about this on the state, I read at one part where the mayor said that the person who was responsible for this should face the full extent of the law, and that's something I do agree with. I feel like they should go through the judicial system as it should and be punished, as a grown person instead of like an adolescent, because this is something very serious. You put a lot of people's lives at risk. You got people worried and afraid. So I feel like they should be facing that punishment, but I also do feel like someone should teach them what they should do in these situations, because maybe they just weren't aware of what they were doing and maybe just caught up in the whole hype of hopping on a trend. So they should definitely have a space where they can learn what they should do next time and how to better handle themselves.
Great answers. Great answers. We're going to take another break and we'll be right back.
All right, here's what we know. Tomorrow is another day, and no matter how everybody's feeling, we will have to once again pack the book bags and send the kids off to school. So what do we tell them? Jennifer Wolf, our trauma specialist, is staying with us. What do we tell them as we send them off to school tomorrow, Jennifer?
Definitely. Well, I think you are honest with there's going to be a lot of emotions, that it's going to take time, that it's going to be difficult, but they can also focus on what they enjoy, their friendships, those accomplishments that they've worked so hard for. I'd also reinforce support systems, and if they're scared or they're feeling, who do they go to? So build in almost like a support plan as they go back to school, and to tell them it's going to take time. It's not something that we're going to get over, but you are going to get through it, and in time that intensity will lessen. That's what I'd suggest.
Such good advice. Thank you so much. So we will tell them to focus on the positive, Darcy, to find the things that they like in school tomorrow, and to keep remembering that as they go through their day.
And we're going to wrap up with the reason why we even started this tough conversation with the kids, and we're going to let them give their classmates a message.
I think my message would be, when you're at school, just treat everyone with kindness. You don't know what someone's going through. You don't know what their family is going through. And just because you see something that's a trend on any social media platform, it doesn't mean that you have to follow it. Just remember that every single choice you make will affect you in the future, and you should really just consider how it's going to affect your classmates and your family.
And Samantha, as you prepare to head back to Blythewood High School tomorrow, what is your message to your classmates?
To my classmates at Blythewood, I just want everyone to know that they are loved and that they can always reach out to any of our admin if they need to talk to someone, because what happened today was very traumatizing for a lot of students. And I want the community to know that there is such a difference, a big difference between seeing things on social media versus it actually happening to you in real life. And you don't know how bad things are until it happens to you.
Guys, thank you so much. Again, as I mentioned, the best and the brightest across the Midlands joining us today. That's going to do it for Friends at 5, but don't go anywhere. News 19 at 6 is up next.
Thank you for watching News 19. Did you see a story you loved? Download WLTX on your Roku or Amazon Fire device and watch it again right now.